All right, good morning. This is a video tutorial that is going to explain to you guys the important types of religions or more common forms of religion that are found in the world today. And we're going to talk about the difference between what are known as universalizing and folk or ethnic religions of the world. So up until this point, we've learned about the differences between folk and popular culture, what a hearth is, how culture diffuses. And so in this section, we're going to talk about one of the important characteristics of any culture that you would find in the world, and that is religion. Religion really is one of the binding forces of a culture because a culture, a group of people usually have a common characteristic, and that is religion. They usually have a common God or a common place of worship that they feel a connection to and a connection to the people around them. It imposes a sense of community. It gives people a sense of purpose, a sense of meaning, and something to look forward to. And religion is usually a binding force that you're going to find in many cultures around the world. So the intent of these slides is to not only help you identify what are some common religions that are around the world today, but also to give you an idea of if somebody were to ask you, can you tell me a little bit about Islam? Who is its founder? Where is it? Where are the people who practice Islam? Where are they commonly found? What's the difference between Judaism and Christianity? Hopefully by the end of this video, you guys will be able to at least answer some basic questions about some of the characteristics of the world's major religions today. So let's get into it. So if you took many of the religions out there today, from Judaism to Islam to Christianity, you could break those into two types. The type on the left is known as a universalizing religion, and the type on the right is known as an ethnic or folk religion. Universalizing religions tend to, what makes them different is that they appeal to a wide variety of people and they actively try to bring in new followers. The three more common types of universalizing religions out in the world today are Islam, Christianity, and Buddhism. Islam, Christianity, and Buddhism. Those are the three most common because if you looked at a world map today and looked at major world religions, Christianity, Buddhism, and Islam isn't really concentrated in one continent or one region of the world. The adherents, an adherent is somebody who follows a religion. Those followers are spread throughout the world map. Whereas with an ethnic religion is usually found in one specific part of the world. That religion doesn't usually have a central authority and isn't trying to actively recruit new followers. Those people, I don't want to say they're satisfied, but they feel like the followers they have is sufficient, and they're not out there using missionaries, people trying to recruit new adherents or new followers. So some common or popular types of ethnic religions, Shintoism and Taoism, those are both found in Asia, mainly China and Japan and Korea. We're not going to spend time on those today, but we are going to talk about Christianity, Buddhism, Islam, Hinduism, and Judaism. Those are the five religions we're going to focus on. And we'll talk about what makes them different and any similarities that they share. So here's some information on Islam. I actually have to update the first bullet point there. Islam is now the second largest religion in the world today in terms of followers. There are almost 2 million people in the world who consider themselves Muslims. A Muslim is somebody who follows the Islamic faith. They're mostly found in Southwest Asia, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, commonly known as the Middle East, Syria. But there are many Muslims who are found in Indonesia, parts of Africa, and Europe. So they have two main branches. So if you took Islam and broke it into two main branches, there are Sunni and Shiite Muslims. Those people, the reason there's a difference between the two is it has to do with who is in charge when the founder of Islam, Muhammad, when he passed away. It has to do essentially with who was left to be in charge of the Islamic faith after Muhammad passed away. If you wanted to become a Muslim, there's 5 pillars of Islam. those have to do with what you have to do on a daily basis or what you have to do in your life if you wanted to be an Islamic adherent. You have to declare your faith in what's known as a mosque. You have to pray 5 times a day on a prayer mat in the direction of Mecca. Mecca is the hearth of Islam. It's the holy place of Islam. So you have to do that 5 times a day, and you have to point on your knees. You have to pray in the direction of Mecca. You have to clean yourself in terms of washing your hands and feet very carefully each time before you pray. You're expected to give around 2%, 2 to 3% of your earnings each year to people in need, to people living in poverty. So to give you an idea of what that means, so if you, for every dollar that you make, you're expected to give around 3 cents of every dollar that you make to somebody in need. There is a holy month. It's based off of the lunar calendar. So that month varies from year to year. Sometimes it's in the spring, sometimes it's in the summer or fall. That holy month is known as Ramadan. Ramadan is the holiest month in the Islamic calendar. And during Ramadan, people are not allowed to eat from dawn until dusk. You have to fast. You cannot eat from dawn until dusk. And at least once in your lifetime, you have to make a pilgrimage, a trip, a journey to Mecca, which is located in Saudi Arabia. And the reason why, again, is because it's considered a holy place in the Islamic faith. It's where Muhammad encountered God and founded the Islamic faith. So those are the 5 things you have to do in order to be a follower or adherent of Islam. This is like a tree that shows how Judaism, Islam, and Christianity are all connected. They all trace their descendants back to Abraham, who was the founder of Judaism. Abraham had children, Sarah and Isaac, who have connections to Jesus Christ, considered the direct descendant of God, whereas Hagar and Ishmael had Muhammad, who is considered the founder of Islam. Both Muhammad and Sarah and Isaac can trace their beginnings and their historical connection back to Judaism and Abraham. So all 3 of these religions that have had a lot of conflict with one another over the years all share a similarity in that they all share a common a founder. All right, little information about Christianity and Buddhism. Well, before I get to that, a couple other things about Islam that I thought you might find interesting too. Islam, unlike Christianity, which has a church, a sanctified meeting place, Islamic faith has mosques, but mosques are not considered holy places. They're places where you can go and pray. They're considered a community center. They do have people there that you can consult and look for to advice, but they're not considered priests, and they're considered more of important figures within the community. When a child is born, the child's head is shaved, and any hair that comes off the child's head is weighed, and that weight in terms of money is then given to somebody in need. It's given to the poor. Muslim men are allowed to have multiple wives. They can marry more than one woman, but it's considered a taboo for women to have more than one husband. That's a great example of a taboo there. Islam has been criticized at times for its traditional views on women. In many traditional Islamic countries, women are either not allowed to drive or hold jobs or go to school. That is changing. There has been a movement within many Islamic countries to create more of an equal playing field between men and women. There's a movement in Pakistan and Iraq and Saudi Arabia to give women more rights under the law, to allow them to go to school, to vote, to hold office, to drive. Saudi Arabia just passed a law last year which allows women to get driver's licenses for the first time. But for the most part, if you were to live in a traditional Islamic country, they do believe, like Christians, in a heaven and a hell, but they have very traditional views on the roles of women and how you're supposed to act in public. Wear very plain clothes, traditional Islamic clothes. Things like drinking alcohol, gambling, smoking, those are considered taboos. Those are restrictions that you're not supposed to follow. All right, a little bit of information on Buddhism. Buddhism is the fourth largest religion in the world. It has about 500 million people. The founder is Buddha himself. It has two main branches, and a lot of this revolves around that the entire purpose of life is suffering. To suffer through life and to find true meaning through giving up all of your possessions and devoting your entire life to Buddha. Some interesting things about Buddhism is that Buddhism, you do not have to go to a holy place to pray. You can pray inside of your home, and most of the time, you don't have to pray at all. A lot of Buddhism is based off of rituals and yoga and meditation, where monks, the holy people within the Buddhist faith, monks do a lot of the praying for you and pray in these Buddhist temples. And as a matter of fact, if you're interested more in the Buddhist beliefs, you can check out, there is a temple right here in Woodstock, right off the square, called the Blue Lotus Temple. It's a Buddhist temple. It's open to all people of all faiths. And Buddhism is one of the few religions in the world in which you can be a Christian, you could be a Muslim, and you could still practice Buddhism. A lot of it is based off this belief that when you finally devote yourself entirely to Buddha, you achieve what's known as nirvana. Nirvana is the end of this suffering and this final enlightenment before God. So that's a little bit of information on Buddhism. With Christianity, Christianity is probably a religion that people are most familiar with here in the United States because it's a very common religion in the United States, and it's the most popular religion in the world. It has by far and away the most followers in the world. If you took Christianity, you break it into three branches: Catholics, Orthodox Christians, and Protestants. The two most common in the United States here and in the Americas, even South America, would be Catholics and Protestants. A lot of Catholics hail from France and Spain and Ireland, whereas a lot of the Protestants hail from Germany and England. Orthodox Christians tend to be more from the eastern part of Europe, Russia, Ukraine. So a little bit of information about the different branches. With Catholics, Catholics believe that there's an all-powerful church. They have a Catholic church. The Pope is considered the direct successor to one of the disciples. There is only, in their mind, one powerful church. It's the all-powerful church that's the Catholic Church. They have seven sacraments, which include marriage, baptism, confirmation, penance, which you meet with a priest and you confess your sins to him. The consumption of the Eucharist, which are considered to be like the blood and water of Jesus Christ, and the belief that Jesus Christ is the direct descendant in human form of God. Whereas with Protestants only believe in two of the sacraments. They believe in the Eucharist, but they don't believe that it's the blood and water of Jesus Christ, and they believe in baptism. They don't believe in the various sacraments, and unlike Catholics, Protestants don't have one central authority. You know, there's a Catholic Church with its headquarters in Rome. It's considered the Vatican City. It's considered its own country. Whereas Protestants, you can have Lutherans, you can have Methodists, Mennonites. You have millions of denominations of the Protestant faith. But in the Protestant view, all of those faiths are equal. They're all allowed to practice the sacraments on their own beliefs, and they're all considered equal before God's eyes. So hopefully that gives you a little information about Christianity up to this point, the different branches with Catholics, Orthodox, Christians, and Protestants, Buddhism, and Islam. Here's some examples of places of worship. This is another thing that highlights the differences between the different Christian branches. Over here on the left, this is a Catholic church in Boston, Massachusetts. Catholic churches, if you pass one, they have very tall steeples. The reason they do this is when these churches were built many years ago, they were built before skyscrapers and big tall buildings, and the Catholic Church wanted to show off its power. So in many of these small towns, the Catholic Church in the town is usually the biggest building in the town. Like if you go to Harvard St. Joseph's Church right in downtown Harvard is one of the biggest buildings right in town. Many of these small towns, the biggest church or the biggest building is the Catholic Church to show off its power, to attract new followers. Okay, people want to be part of something big. Over on the top right here, you have Orthodox churches. You may have seen this in towards the Chicagoland area, in Polish, Ukrainian, Russian neighborhoods. Gold towers that with steeples, multiple steeples, ornate architecture. These are examples of an Eastern Orthodox church. Again, much more common in Eastern Europe. And then the more plain or simple looking churches, for the most part, some differ, but for the most part, Protestant churches tend to be more plain. They're not as showy, and they're smaller in height. Usually one steeple, usually much smaller size inside, and they are scattered throughout the United States and other parts of the world. Here's an example of a Buddhist temple in Japan. Again, Buddhism is far more common in Asia than it is here, although you do find some Buddhist adherents scattered throughout the United States. You can see the ornate, colorful types of architecture. This is known as a Buddhist pagoda, where you would find monks inside who are meditating, practicing rituals for all people, designed to ease suffering. Here's some Buddhist monks. Buddhist monks pursue a life of what's known as giving back to communities, trying to help others out in need. Many of them are vegetarians. It's considered a custom amongst Buddhists to not impose pain even on animals. So many of them are vegetarians. A little bit of information about Hinduism and Judaism, our final two religions for the video. Hinduism, unlike others with Buddha and Muhammad and Jesus Christ, Hinduism doesn't have a specific founder. Nobody knows who founded Hinduism. It's considered one of the world's oldest religions, and unlike the others as well, it's polytheistic, meaning it has multiple gods. Some of the gods represent pain, some of them represent war and power. You may have heard of a god like Vishnu. There is goals that are associated with Hinduism, which include righteousness, giving back, trying to achieve happiness and a happy life under God's view, trying to achieve freedom from suffering. This religion, like Buddhism, also revolves around meditation. And also like Buddhism, you do not have to go to a Hindu temple to pray. You can purchase or make your own small temples and pray within the confines of your own home. There are temples located throughout Asia. There is one not too far from here. It's one of the only Hindu temples in North America. It's right here in Bartlett, Illinois. It's about a half an hour from Woodstock. And if you click on this link here, it'll give you all the information you need. I've been there a couple times. It's beautiful. The architecture is very, very, very pretty. And you are welcome to view the place. It's free to get in. You can pray if you would like. A lot of it involves incense, meditation and incense, and belief in yoga and these rituals that allow people to meditate and be at peace to try to find eternal life. Hinduism is mainly found in Asia. It's it's the third largest religion. And lastly, Judaism. Judaism is important because it revolves around a very pivotal state, that's Israel. Israel is a state that was actually created by the United Nations after World War II for Jewish people. You've probably heard about the Holocaust in World War II, the Nazi belief that they were a superior race trying to eradicate the Jews. They felt that the Jews were responsible for the previous World War and for all the problems Germany had experienced after World War I. And so Adolf Hitler and his followers tried to eradicate the Jews with the Holocaust. He was responsible for killing nearly 6 million Jews. And so after World War II, the United Nations, the main peacekeeping force in the world, actually carved out a holy state in the hearth of Judaism around Jerusalem and created the state of Israel, because it realized that it had to give a home for these Jewish peoples who had been pushed out of Germany and other parts of Europe by the Nazis. And some other interesting facts about Judaism, even though they have connections to Christianity and Islam, they do not believe, unlike Christians, that there's a human form of God. You know, Christians believe in Jesus Christ, that he's the human form of God. Jews do not believe in that. They do believe that God created the universe. Their main text is the Torah, and they do not have a central authority. They don't have a Roman Catholic Church, a headquarters anywhere. They believe that all people are equal under the law, but at the same time that there is only one faith and only one God. So that's where they tend to disagree with Hindus and Buddhists and Islamic followers about who the direct descendant of God is and did he take a human form. Here's some examples of gods and goddesses. If you were to click on this link, you can learn more about them if you'd like. Again, Hindu is the only religion that we talked about today that is polytheistic, this belief in multiple gods and spirits. You can see that many, let's see, this is probably a better map here. The green areas, here's Southwest Asia, commonly known as the Middle East, Northern Africa, here's Indonesia. That's where you'd find the vast majority of the world's Muslims. The vast majority of the world's Jews are either located right here in Israel, their state, or in the United States. Christians are found throughout the world from Australia to Southern Africa to the Americas and to Europe. Now, again, you could break that into Catholics, Protestants, and Orthodox Christians. And Buddhists, you're going to find more in India and Southeast Asia. You're going to find more Hindus in India for the most part. And then you'd find more like Taoists and Shintoist faiths in China, Korea, and Japan. This is where you'd find the various branches of Christianity and other religions worldwide. You have the vast majority of Catholics concentrated in the Northeast, Southwest, because of the vast majority of Catholics there are Latino descent. It's a very common religion in Mexico and in Latin America, Catholics, because of the Mexico and Central America and Latin America were colonized by the Spaniards, and the Spaniards were Catholics. Protestants are found more in the Midwest and in the South. This is how it's diffused. Christianity diffused through missionaries, these people who are out actively recruiting adherents, people designed to bring in new followers. This happened during the Roman times. The Roman Empire adopted Catholicism as its main religion, and so therefore anybody living under Roman rule was considered to be a Catholic or forced to practice the Catholic faith. So that's a great example of hierarchical diffusion. The missionaries would be an example of relocation diffusion. This is a good map showing where it started from. Here's the Roman Empire here. This is the hearth right here of Christianity around Jerusalem and how it spread into Spain and other parts of Europe. Whereas Islam also diffused through missionaries, relocation diffusion, and Buddhism also used missionaries as well, just different hearths. Whereas Islam, the hearth is in Southwest Asia, the Middle East. Buddhism, the hearth is from East Asia. Here's a great example. Here's Buddhism out here. Because of the proximity to Africa and the rest of Southwest Asia, Islam is a very common religion found there today. Here's Buddhism. Buddhism actually was founded in India, but today the common religion in India is Hinduism. Buddhism is much more common in China, and this is considered Southeast Asia, Vietnam, and Cambodia, Laos, to Thailand. There have been some clashes between Hindus and Buddhists, and India has, for the most part, remained dominantly Hindu. One of the main reasons why these ethnic or folk religions do not become more popular Why you don't see Hinduism practiced more widely or Judaism practiced more widely is because they do not have missionaries. They do not have people willing to go out and teach others about their faiths, trying to recruit new followers. They don't have a text that they try to teach others about. So that's why, for the most part, these followers have been concentrated mainly in remote parts or isolated parts of the world. Okay, so in conclusion, hopefully you know the difference between ethnic religions and universalizing religions. You can provide some characteristics about the 5 religions that I talked about. Christianity, how Christianity diffused, Islam, Judaism, Buddhism, and Hinduism. You can provide some information about their places of worship, what makes them different from one another, and if they diffuse, and if they don't diffuse, why that is. So, hope you enjoyed it. Hope you found it interesting. Have a good rest of the day.